Hey everybody, and welcome to this quick little vlog indie zombie review on this psychological horror game called Moons of Madness. Now, just for preference and for information, I have not beaten this game. I've only played it for about over 4 hours or so and kind of quit out of boredom and frustration, but these are my thoughts on it overall. So this is a first-person psychological horror game, not really a survival horror, actually not at all, really. A lot of heavy puzzle solving, and I like some small aspects of it that come in after the first 2 hours of gameplay, because I gotta say, throughout a good amount of the first couple of hours, I was pretty bored. But as I kept going and got through some of the puzzles and the actual real horror began to come up, I did become a bit more interested. And I do like some of the puzzle solving elements that they throw in, like interactive environments and whatnot. But let's go into a bit more description about what kind of goes on in this game. You are an engineer on a Mars station, but you don't obviously get to see like any of the other cast members other than voice comms and whatnot. And basically it's your job to keep the base running. And there have been some issues, and you've been having reoccurring nightmares. You're not sure if they're hallucinations. I mean, obviously they are. But then they start going into full H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu stuff, where cosmic horror and stuff like that, monsters from outer space, gods, or at least talking about gods. So it's sort of your job to help keep the base running, so you're kind of moving around to keep stuff going that's been disconnected. Like, you at one point are traveling outside the base, and you have to, put on an environmental suit and hop inside a cat vehicle. You don't actually get to operate it, which is okay. So you don't have to worry about having to know exactly where you're traveling to. A lot of my negatives with this come from the fact that movement is so damn slow. And you do have a sprint button, but you obviously have an invisible stamina meter that, your character needs to catch their breath after running a while. Well, not really running, it's more like a light jog. Really, like, I will never understand why in some of these horror games, when you have a sprint button, it just feels like a mild jog. And whereas in other horror games, like, be it, the Resident Evil latest remakes, or probably even other games that have sprinting, that actually looks like you are running the fuck away. And some of the puzzle solving, I don't puzzle solving slash inventory manipulation. Like, there's one where you have to reactivate a water pump system with these 3 different cores that you have to rearrange their power meters, and in order to do that you have to take them out of where they go and readjust, but you have to look specifically at where you want to manipulate it and if you want to put it back or not. So that took a little while to figure out exactly how you were taking stuff out of your inventory, manipulating it, and putting it into, and this went through a lot of things, whether it was this, and then at one point trying to arrange a bunch of pictures, which was where I really got stuck. Like, a couple of times during this game I actually had to look up walkthroughs on how to solve some of this stuff. The picture stuff, I thought I had tried the correct method, but going back through the footage, I didn't, where, you're supposed to, as it comes out to me now, and I just feel stupid now about it, where, you have to follow the timestamps from, I believe, like, the earliest to the last, and that solves it. And I thought I had done that previously, but I didn't after going through the footage. What really gets to me is the tediousness of the looking at the picture, your character takes it off, you look at it, and you have to look at it a particular way to put it back in your inventory, and then remove another picture to put that other picture there. And it's so tedious. Like, there should have been a faster way to do this, especially if you've already read and looked at these items and whatnot. There has to be better optional ways instead of it just being this one particular way. But, maybe there isn't, to be fair. But yeah, that was annoying. Very, very annoying. And I also had to look up a walkthrough on how to solve this wall puzzle, which I will say is at least interesting, but at the same time, if you're someone like me who has a learning disability and is probably average in the education system. I did graduate high school. I just didn't go to college, obviously. You have this wall puzzle with these books that are labeled, I believe, with either encyclopedia stuff, or basically it's an elemental puzzle where you have this note that says the periodic table of these particular elements. I'm probably off on that, but one says like carbon and then a few others. But I thought because it was saying C, B, and E or H, I thought that meant, C, as in number 3. But actually, no, it was referring to the actual elemental number that I had to look up and find out that, carbon is actually 6 or 4 or 5. And after reading that and figuring that out, being like, how would any common gamer know that without looking that up? How would you know that answer at all? I mean, I can't imagine that every common gamer, or even at this point in my life, casual gamer, would know that unless they had internet. But then again, if you didn't have internet, how are you're not playing this? So fair, I guess. Another thing I will say is that a lot of the scares are pretty weak. There was only one scare that actually got me, and that was when you suddenly go into this cave and you're fiddling with these orbs. And I was wondering if this was going to be a constant thing at one point where you're holding out your hand and you're able to energize these orbs, and there's this tentacle monster that backs away whenever you look at it, which I thought was kind of cool, but that only seemed to happen here. Maybe it happens more later. I don't know. There was one chase scene with a monster that I did like its design. It was very humanoid, but also very plant and tentacle-like that chases you. And this is after you have fixed, the water and everything. The rest of the time, the scares are obviously jump scares, where suddenly, something appears in front of you. And a good amount of the time, there were these weird ones that just didn't make any sense, where, I remember them specifically when I was running around in the water plant, and, and you're up on this high scaling, and you're going around, you're turning stuff off, and mostly I'm just trying to figure out, okay, where am I supposed to go next to find these other batteries that I need so I can reset the water. And I activated something that the area in front of me sort of warped and bended a little bit, and that freaked out the character. And I'm wondering what was so scary about that. Whereas other times when something happens, like when you are in the caves and you're leaving, this shadowy figure comes out and is talking to you and starts speaking this bizarre language. He's not freaking out or reacting. He's just standing there and observing. Maybe he's so scared, but he's not saying anything. It's like, oh my god, Jesus Christ, oh my god. He's just standing there just listening to this person talk, and as they teleport around him and get closer to him. Yet, the one scare when another astronaut pops through a door and grabs it, he's like, oh Jesus, fuck no! That actually scared me. And sort of my stopping point was, you get back to the main station, there's this plant life that one of the scientists was experimenting with, and it got out, began spreading. You find out that one of the other scientists or workers there was working on a poison for the plant, and you have to finish the mixture of it, which, another fun, tedious puzzle of taking stuff out and manipulating them around in this spin sequencer thing. And I mean, the first part of that was fine, but you have to go back to it again. I will say seeing the other scientist who you only talked to briefly earlier via the radio, seeing him dead with this large tentacle and him sort of, stuck to this wall and this tentacle thing coming out of his mouth was kind of cool and pretty gross. And the fact that you get... Oh, and you have this wrist thing that will, I guess, say on it your health, and you can use it to figure out, like, what your next goal is. It's also how you manage your inventory, but that really doesn't come much into play, because a lot of the time it's pretty situational, where, like, at one point you pick up pretty early on, you pick up a crowbar, and you only need to use it to pry open a door. You don't use it as a weapon. You don't really use anything as a weapon. You do have a flashlight on you, and thank God you don't have to worry about batteries. And then the few times that you go out, you are in a spacesuit, and you can refill your oxygen and stuff like that, so you don't really have to worry about that. There's a couple of puzzles at the satellite station when you're trying to get communication back up. A pipe lining puzzle, which was fine. It was just trying to figure out how to activate the next part. Then I figured that out, and then figuring out the fucking radio wavelength, which, again, how the hell would you know that without just randomly guessing? I had to look up online how to solve it. And then my breaking point, or at least my frustrating point, where it's like, I just don't care anymore, where I synthesize the first poison, but then I have to change the poison, and you have to have 2 vials on either side for it to be balanced. And even though I solved it using only 3, you have to use 4. And it's like, well, and I'm sure a smarter person, more patient person could have solved this. I have been at this for probably about an hour. I even went back to do another recording session of probably about 40 minutes, because firstly I had to find the other fucking vial in order to use it. And I had looked all over the goddamn station. Turns out, like, oh, it's in this one spot that you just really didn't look at. And eventually I just got annoyed, and I don't know, I mean, maybe the game got a little bit more interesting. I will say, like, it's, well, I actually have to say, it is rather perplexing how your character is freaked out by sudden warpedness, but not utterly confused when he walks into a mysterious cave that then has doorways, tentacles, and suddenly he is in his childhood basement. I mean, yeah, he does call attention to it, like, this is my childhood basement. What the hell? But, yeah. Maybe he's, just slowly, descending into madness. I would not be too surprised if that's how the game ends, where he's been dreaming, and maybe he killed the crew because he was hallucinating. I would not be too surprised if that's the ending. With all my complaining aside, there were some things that I did kind of like about this, but overall I just found a lot of the puzzle solving, inventory management, well, that's kind of light, though, if not really there, really. And a lot of moving around from one place to another, just very tedious and just kind of boring after a while. A lot of the scares not very effective.
Oh yeah, so I forgot. One of the nitpick is that because this game auto-saves, you can't just save at any point. So if you decide to quit, take a break, and if you didn't reach a checkpoint, you have to redo an entire puzzle from the start. So, like, I had to do the water puzzle at the very beginning, going and get the 3 power cells and whatever, and arrange them in a particular way. Turn off the sprinklers as well. So, yeah, that was also quite frustrating to find out when I came back to that. So, yeah.
But if you have any interest in this, do check this out. I'm not sure if this is something that I can recommend personally. But let me know what you think in the comments section, and hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you next time. Hopefully more positive stuff. See ya.